You know what also is crazy? Going to sleep to like MTV
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
waking up in the middle of the night to just Girls Gone Wild ads.
Oh yeah.
Just,
They
just
played them on Comedy Central
Oh,
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be real. I mean, I was a little horn dog. I would wake up. You know, there's no wonder that I am the way I am because I'd wake up to those. They're basically porn because like it barely censors their
Yeah.
titties
Okay,
in that.
I just want to know, what age are you all at that you're doing this?
Like 9 to 12.
9 to 12. Okay,
Yeah.
see,
I was about 11.
I was horny real young.
12.
okay,
yeah.
but when I was 11, I had already figured out that the best way to do that was to just use a computer.
Oh no, I was doing that too.
Yeah.
Your boy would look at the those preview sites that you would have to use the credit card to go further, but you got the
Oh,
free
yeah.
tour
Oh, yeah.
on the sites.
Just porn.com.
Well, also like when like by the time high school came around and everyone talked about like, oh my God, Rule 34 is a thing, I was like, yeah, I've been new. I've been new. You think
you
you
just
think
have,
you
like,
don't
the fucking just
accidentally? You didn't.
All shell-shocked face of like, oh, I know. I've seen the entire site.
I saw porn parodies of like, way too young, like animated porn parodies, way too young. I mean, if I say Zone Tan, I'm sure everyone.
I actually don't know what that is.
no,
I know the guy.
no,
Anyways,
yeah,
let's.
Zone Tan is.
Let me go. No.
No.
Not a good
No.
idea. I wouldn't
Ooh,
recommend it.
boy.
Yeah, it's a lot of. It's
That-
a lot. It's
That Newgrounds era, huh?
that Newgrounds era was wild. It was the Wild West, full of racism and porn. Newgrounds is like so horny, super racist,
Yeah.
and just really irreverent and offensive in every way. There was good stuff on it, but
Isn't porn in general kind of racist?
Well, also, not much has really changed on that front. And
Yeah.
more things change, more things stay the same, I would say.
I mean, true.
you look different places for the horny racists.
Yeah, just the horny racism comes in
Now it's
different ways.
Now it's called Reddit.com.
Yeah.
Reddit. if Reddit was a Reddit should be bombed. I don't know where I was going with that. But that was
I
the
don't use
punchline.
the internet. I think it's for losers. I
Yeah.
stopped when I was 13 because I had seen all the porn that existed.
I downloaded that
about-
shit into my brain like the lawnmower.
What about
man.
all?
Just,
What about all the porn? What about all the porn they've made since then? You have missed Riley
no.
Reid's
Whoa,
entire
hold
career.
on.
No.
It's so easy.
You can see, once you've seen it all.
You can construct it.
Exactly.
Are you saying you don't have terminal porn brain? Anyways, so today's episode is episode 1. We just watched Shin Godzilla. It was on 3 of our lists. It was on my list. It was on Jesse's list over there. Jesse, say hi.
What's up, y'all?
It was on Jacob's list. Jacob, say hi.
Hi.
Okay. And then David, it wasn't on his list, but he does like the movie. So David, say hello.
Hello.
And I am Randy. It is nice to see all of you here for the first actual episode. We had the pilot drop. It was fun. There was a few things that I didn't like about it. Like, we all had our phones out. And trust me, that's not a thing going forward. That was just because we had to look at our lists. So that's not going to happen. But we're going to go ahead and get into the movie because I really like the movie. And Jesse here is a certified freak. 7 days a fucking week when it comes to kaiju and just the Godzilla franchise and everything that orbits that, the Toho sphere.
Yeah.
And so he's going to give us like a bit of a rundown because I know Shin Godzilla has a lot of history behind it. And like, I feel like we needed that primer. David mentioned it before we went to record. And, we had him prepare some stuff. So if you want to go give a rundown.
So just, quick overview of like my personal history with Godzilla. When I was a little kid, I would go to my grandma's house and we'd rent old Godzilla movies from the library and she'd watch them with me. And I absolutely loved them. And that's kind of how I just got into Godzilla. But just a quick overview of Godzilla in general, of really all you need to know leading up to Shin Godzilla. First Godzilla movie, Gojira, known in America through a shitty re-edit dub with, what's his name, as Godzilla King of the Monsters. This was very unusual for what Godzilla would later become. This is a very kind of harrowing, very sort of kind of a horror movie, basically. It's a lot about like Godzilla himself is a metaphor for the national trauma of the 2 atomic bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and general fear of nuclear fallout in the atomic age, as well as its environmental impact. There's huge environmental themes throughout all of Godzilla. Like I said, very somber, mournful tone. There is a particular scene in the first movie, and we're eventually going to talk about this because it's on my list and Jacob's list as well. But there's a just harrowing scene in that movie where Godzilla is destroying the city, and the camera moves into a little building with a family. It's a mother and her 2 kids, and she's holding her 2 kids as the building is collapsing around them, and she's saying, like, "Don't worry, we'll be with Daddy soon." And it's one of the most just depressing things I've ever seen. But that movie started off the Showa era of Godzilla, which was, it started sort of similar in tone and then gradually became Godzilla we know and love. Campy, fighting different monsters. It gradually was borrowing tones and ideas from other movies at the time, sci-fi ideas. He fights Ghidorah. And that ends in the 70s with the Mechagodzilla films as Godzilla slowly became an objective hero until the 80s with Godzilla. I think it's just called Godzilla Returns. I haven't seen this one in a long time, but this is like a return to form for Godzilla. There's a huge emphasis on the nuclear themes because the Cold War was going on at the time. So you have plot lines of Russia and the Soviets, and America's wanting to nuke Godzilla, and the Soviets are wanting to nuke Godzilla, and Japan's like, no, don't, you'll nuke us too. And then from then on in, you get the Heisei era, which is sort of blending of the original Godzilla and like just tone and atmosphere, and the Showa era with stories. He's fighting a lot of different monsters in this one, but the movies generally take themselves kind of seriously, and they're a lot of fun to watch. And one of the key movies in this one is called Godzilla vs. Destroya. It's the last one of the series, and this one's important because Godzilla fucking dies. Spoiler alert. But that's it. And then you get a break. And then you get the 1998 American Godzilla with Matthew Broderick.
With Zilla.
With Zilla. we don't talk about that one.
Hey, you know what? Jean Reno is in that movie.
Jean
He's
Reno's
one of the
in that
only
movie.
saving graces
Jean Reno's
in that movie,
and he fucks. He's so fucking good in
Well,
that movie.
it's one of 2 saving graces in that movie. The soundtrack also.
True,
fucks.
the soundtrack fucks.
fucks.
And yet
Soundtrack
again,
fucks.
Jean Reno, the one good Frenchman.
Yeah.
There's only one, and it's him. I'm
Only
sorry
good Frenchman.
to any French people listening, but you're not Jean Reno.
Also, there was an animated series in the 98 movie that kind of redeems him, but we're not talking about that. Then the Millennium Era starts. And this one, you have some of the themes. You have some of them. Mostly, they're just about being awesome. There's a huge emphasis on spectacle. There's a huge emphasis on action. And you get some that have strong thematic elements. Like there's one movie called Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack.
God damn, that's a mouthful.
Yeah.
God, more than a mouthful than one of those sites I saw as a kid, man. God damn.
So yeah, Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack recenters Godzilla as a villain. He's the reanimation of the vengeful spirits of dead Japanese soldiers from World War II.
What?
King Ghidorah is the hero in that movie.
No, I'm sorry. Go back again.
So Godzilla is imbued with the spirits of the fallen Japanese soldiers of World War II that everyone has forgotten.
Okay, you know what energy that has?
Yes.
You know in Anchorman 2 during the big fight scene where it's like, that's the ghost of Stonewall Jackson. Let's not ignore the fact that that is the ghost of General Stonewall Jackson.
Yep.
What the fuck is that? Continue, I guess, but I just had to take an aside for that because, like, honestly, like, you glanced past that, I looked at Jacob's face, and you went...
Godzilla, GMK is a weird movie. It's a weird movie, but it's a fun movie. And then the Millennium series ends in, I think, 2004 with Godzilla Final Wars, which is the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah, Final Wars fucks.
Final Wars kicks fucking
For some
ass.
reason, awesome, like motorcycle ninja stunts at one
like
point.
Matrix shit.
Yeah, it's...
Aliens.
That movie, now, of that whole era, I didn't really watch any of them as a kid. I think I watched a couple of them as a kid, but I don't really... But I did watch Final Wars.
Yeah.
Because that movie fucks.
I was
Sucks hard.
little kid me heard that movie was coming out, and like that was my Avengers Endgame, and I was so sad that it never got an American release, and I didn't see it until like 2008, 2007. And then that's kind of it for Godzilla for a little bit, and then in 2014, Gareth Edwards did a remake of Godzilla for an American audience, and that movie's actually on my list. Might not stay on my list because the more I think about it, the more problems I have with it, but it is a great movie. It is, like, as far as American kaiju blockbusters go, I think it's one of the best. It really does respect Godzilla a lot more.
What a great list to be on. American kaiju films, one of the best. Man, oh man, I'm
Pretty
one of
low
the
bar, admittedly.
I'm one of the smartest people in my remedial English class.
Like, I'll say-
Well, we have two good ones. We have Cloverfield and Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Cloverfield's also on my
True.
list, and Cloverfield is amazing.
And Godzilla King of the Monsters.
I mean,
Godzilla
I
King of the
guess-
Monsters is fun.
And I guess
like
also
It's
Pacific Rim as well.
Well,
Yeah.
to be
Rim's
fair,
also on my
list.
I had an
Look,
argument
But
with
look,
Jesse
it's
about
It's
this.
a very low bar, admittedly. It's
It
just
is a
like,
pretty low bar.
I'm not the biggest
but
fan
it
of
helps that
Pacific
you got
Rim.
Del Toro directing that one.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
even say Pacific Rim's in the top 10.
I don't know, scale, like out of any, almost even like Japanese kaiju film, that's like one of the only ones that makes anything feel like there's scale. Everything feels massive because of how slow they move and all the weight behind them.
Well, and it's like it is scale, but it's just aesthetically like that movie is
it's-
such a fully realized world.
I
It is
love how he
so-
was like, no one's allowed to watch anime or kaiju movies while we're making this, and you can tell all of them were like so disappointed and horny, and so they just from memory were like, all right, make this one look like Big O, like make the Russian robot look like Big O.
make their helmets do the Evangelion thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we'll talk about that another time. Just that was a quick aside, but is that all the catch up we needed for Shin Godzilla?
I think it is. Any gaps I can fill in later, but that's the overview of Godzilla. He went from nuclear metaphor to hero to nuclear metaphor to hero to
And
action star.
now back to nuclear metaphor again.
Now back to nuclear metaphor
and
again.
moving on, there's another bit of a primer that I think a lot of people need. And in general, by the way, this is a thing that we're going to do with the series going forward because, you know, we all studied film, and part of like the intent of this podcast is like a non-intimidating way for people to get into film. You know, like that's kind of the whole point. And so we're here to give you guys primers and make sure you're like, we're meeting everyone where they're at and everyone has all the information. So one of the two directors, there is Hideaki Anno and there is Shinji Higuchi. Hideaki Anno is the one we're going to focus on here. And we're going to go ahead and throw that to the biggest Evangelion nerd I know, Jacob. Jacob, go ahead and just vomit on us.
Okay, so the first thing you got to know about Hideaki Anno is that he fucks. And he fucks harder than you, and he fucks harder than me. And if you think you even get close to getting pussy, you haven't even been.
And he has weird sexual thoughts about his dead mother.
Yeah, and that's cool. That's
And
big.
that's cool, okay?
So, Hideaki Anno made some animes. He made the most notable, the one that he first got known for, was Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Fuck you. Fuck you, dude.
Neon Genesis
Evangelion, baby.
So he makes Evangelion, and I'm gonna always say it like that. It's so
God,
funny.
did you have like two of those movies on your list? I hate you.
Evangelion. So he makes Evangelion, and it's inspired by a lot of Japanese sci-fi in both animation and live action that he grew up with. He was a big fan of Godzilla, Kamen Rider, Ultraman. And these are all relevant. But he made Eva, and part of it was like this deconstruction of this giant robot genre that he was already a fan of, and then adding in all these like just sort of slice of life drama aspects to it, because he was also very inspired by just like telenovelas and dramas and shit like that, just like, you know,
Trains.
trains. Yeah, exactly.
Man does love his trains.
So, you know, he makes Eva for its entire run, and then it's an incredibly depressive experience because the like just the money runs out, and it's just he can't make it how he wants to, and it's just frustrating. And then it gets really popular, and it's mostly marketed to pedophiles. And
Yeah, unfortunately, the success is
they-
built off of people in the fuck 14-year-olds.
they buy up all the toys. So Anno gets to make a movie, and the movie does gangbusters, and then it becomes this incredibly influential franchise in Japan, and he becomes incredibly well known for it. And then he just sits on the Eva egg for years, and finally decides to make 4 more movies, which is the own basket that I have. One of those movies is on my list, so we'll talk about it one day. But it was by doing those movies that he was able to fund some, you know, independent animators and get some short films made that eventually got pitched into like full-on anime. And then, more importantly, it got him the necessary cred and essentially the proof that he can turn out an audience to make Godzilla, and they let him essentially tackle one of the most influential things to him, and he finally got to make a Godzilla movie, and it's just that's the dream.
Yeah,
that's
and
the dream.
I think like both of those primers are really important because like Shin Godzilla very much is Godzilla returning to its roots. The original being about like Nagasaki, Hiroshima, and like how Japan dealt with that, and the trauma that came from that. But like this one is clearly inspired by Fukushima and like the failure of Japanese bureaucracy in the face of like an immediate disaster. And we'll get into more of that in a second. But I think the other reason this primer was all very important is that this is very much Hideaki Anno.
Yeah.
Like it is, if you have seen Evangelion. Evangelion. If you have seen that franchise at all, this just screams that. Like,
they literally
use
use music from it.
Yeah, he uses music from it. He recycles music from it, which I think is, other directors, it might seem lazy, but, it works so well. It's perfect.
It also helps that the guy who composed the music for Eva composes the music for Shin Godzilla, and he recomposed those specific pieces for Shin Godzilla.
I cannot, every time he says it, I can't stop thinking of that scene from 1 Hour Photo where Robin Williams is just talking to the kid. Huh, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Neon Genesis. He's just like, what are these Evas? They're the good guys. They're literally pointing at the fucking artificial Evas that like try to kill Asuka. These are the good guys.
Spoilers. Okay.
You get to see them cannibalize a human being.
One thing I wanna talk about with Hideaki Anno that I think is interesting about his career is he got his start like a lot of like really prominent Japanese animators working at Studio Ghibli.
Yeah.
Working under the master himself, Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, he made.
And there's one film in particular where he did some creature designs for it. Where you watch it, it's super apparent. It's a movie, I don't know if most of you have seen, called Nausicaa Valley of the Winds.
Dude, I watched that movie with you.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure about the other two. Okay.
I love
Well,
Nausicaa.
there's I don't remember the creatures that they're called, but like
the worm thing.
Yeah, the monster designs in that are extremely Hideaki Anno, and you can tell, and it's the kind of thing that you would see him later implement to things like Evangelion and such.
It's funny you mentioned Nausicaa.
And also, not only that, what's very interesting about that is if you watch the original Japanese version of Wind Rises, a movie that is on my list, so we'll talk about it at some point. Hideaki Anno voices the main character in that movie.
Yeah, that is so weird, by the way.
Hell yeah.
So that's, if you ever want to hear him act, then go and check out The Wind Rises, I guess, the original Japanese version.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, well, another thing it is actually kind of important that you brought up like where he got his start, like with like working on Nausicaa, because like this movie has very strong environmentalist themes in it as well, and like that is a big part of like Miyazaki and Studio like Ghibli's like whole through line with like what their movies are about. It's one of their core themes, and Hideaki Anno, it's one of his core themes. Like he is very clearly an environmentalist, and it comes through in this movie. I mean, it's ultimately like allegorical for a nuclear disaster, and they talk about how like parts of the city are going to be like kind of irradiated for a while, and it's displacing people, and like how it's going to affect the waterways and everything. And right in the beginning, when like they're trying to determine the threat, right? Like what this is. They think it's an environmental, like a natural disaster. But then when they realize it's a giant marine life, a marine creature, there's the immediate question, exterminate, capture, or scare away, which is very funny because like in America, it would be blow it the fuck up.
Yeah.
But like,
which this movie touches on.
Yeah, they do touch on it. They do kind of point out that that's what we're all about. But like, it's got those three options, and like there is like a good amount of credence put into it, like at the beginning of like, maybe we just scare it away.
Yeah.
Like the environmentalists are like, they were like mentioning like the environmentalists are like already talking about how like this is a big deal and like we shouldn't be doing this and whatnot. And ultimately, in a way, like a lot of the interference to try to stop Godzilla for most of the movie makes it worse.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned the environmentalist themes because that's also a key part of Godzilla. It's been a key part of Godzilla from the beginning, and it was especially prevalent in the Showa era. And so it's kind of a perfect fit for someone who worked with Studio Ghibli, who worked with Miyazaki, and who himself is an environmentalist, that he really gets to tackle it here. And like you said, with the Fukushima parallels, is just drawing a lot of it on.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it into some of the heavier stuff real quick. Just go ahead and get it out of the way.
Yeah.
We'll have the yucks and the laughs and everything later, but this movie, it is the only one besides the first movie in all of Godzilla that really feels like a horror film.
Yeah.
And there are so many things about it that are scary, but there's some really, really harrowing moments. I mean, as you mentioned, in Gojira, there is a harrowing moment with the mother and her two kids where she's like, we'll be with daddy soon. They basically do that same thing again, where like Godzilla enters its second stage and it goes to like collapse an apartment building, and right before it goes to do that, we see a family of three like getting ready. Like the little kid is in his cute little backpack, and the dad's putting his helmet on the kid, and the mom's like packing. And like in any other movie, it would almost like just show them get away, but then the next shot is immediately that building getting like knocked over by Godzilla, and it doesn't just go that and make you like assume. It cuts back to inside the building as it's toppling, and it shows like a coffee table flying across and smacking them, and like, and a lot of the devastation during the attacks from Godzilla are insane. But the scariest and the most fucked up parts, in my opinion, are after Godzilla goes away and the characters get to wander around the wreckage, because it's kind of too real. Yeah. Because like it really reminds you of every major natural disaster that's occurred, and
it's also like the ending. The ending is completely. It's almost completely silent. It's just like you see this final shot going up Godzilla's tail, and it's splitting off, and it's just like it doesn't explain to you entirely what's happening. They mentioned earlier that Godzilla can separate itself to repopulate, but it's just the implication of what you actually stopped and how much worse it can get. Like this is just the beginning of a very
and battle. On that fucking tail, because like
covered in human corpses.
Well, it's not corpses.
It's like it's strange
creatures.
mutations.
It's creatures. It is Godzilla coming out of its own tail.
In a series full of horrific things, that is genuinely one of the most unsettling and terrifying things I've ever seen in a
did
Godzilla
you guys?
movie.
I mean, speaking of Hideaki Anno, he I mean, in general, and scary, he loves tackling horrifying existential dread-inducing things, because that's kind of one of his cornerstone themes. But like, damn, the darkness is scary. The inevitability of death is scary. But like, And anyways, the design of Godzilla in this movie is like Lovecraftian in a lot of ways. But the thing is, did you guys see the leaked like concept art for like 4 more stages of Godzilla after that? Yeah. So the writhing corpses at the end of the tail. We're assuming this is a spoiler podcast, so if you want to watch the movie beforehand, please do. You'll know what it is if you go on Twitter, if you go on YouTube and watch the review. Also, in my Discord, please click the link that's in the description. Go to my Discord. You'll be 16 years or older. The week of a release, we watch the movie in the Discord, so you can just watch it without spoilers, or with the spoilers, and you'll know. But anyways, so at the end, you see these creatures that are human-like coming out of the tail and writhing to basically get out, and it's frozen. But like the next stage was essentially going to be like a fucking crucifix with these monsters constantly writhing in and out of it, and it's fucking horrifying. And the final stage, like, it goes through more and more horrifying stages. Well, it's like that, another existential dread-inducing one, just a bigger Godzilla then again for some reason. It's just another Godzilla, but bigger.
The bigger you make Godzilla, the more terrifying
True,
it is.
but then eventually it does just become like essentially like a Lovecraftian sleeping elder god that becomes the universe. Like Hideaki Anno put it in his notes, like at a certain point Godzilla becomes so big that it becomes the universe, and that its sleeping thoughts are all of existence. And it's like, what the fuck are you on? What Godzilla movie were you planning? What sequels did you have in mind?
True Godzilla.
True Godzilla. God. I mean, to be fair, it's the first time the God part of Godzilla has ever really made sense as a name.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's funny you mentioned the Lovecraftian thing, because this is quite a divergence from the typical Godzilla design. He usually just kind of looks like a dinosaur. But honestly, I think this works because you get a Godzilla, who can adapt to literally everything that they throw at them. Like, okay, he is aquatic. That's why he's got an aquatic form. Oh, he comes on land. He gets a larger, land form. Oh, people are attacking him. Okay, he gets a land form with a rock skin.
Yeah.
The collective of Japan forms a group of people to stop him. He's growing a group of people out of his tail.
But they do, like, and this is something I didn't notice when I've watched this movie previously, but they figure out when, after he uses his atomic breath out of his back, they figure out that Godzilla doesn't actually have physical control over his body. Yeah. His body just defends itself. Yeah, it's and it will defend itself no matter what.
It's like Darwin from X-Men.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's like targets. It's like if something that is dangerous for it gets close enough to it, it will just fire that laser at that thing. And that's a really good defensive technique, but because he can be spent out of energy, it means that you can literally just keep throwing shit at him until you run out. And eventually he'll slow down and stop. Mm-hmm. And I think that is like a really clever. It's not like they outsmarted him; they just outsmarted
biological
his body.
limit.
Yeah.
It's just a necessity of it. And I think the internal logic of how his biology functions, like, yeah, it's science fiction, but it's like it has an authenticity to it. Mm-hmm. And Jesse mentioned it, like, when we were watching, he was like, none of this really makes sense to me. I'm just accepting it. But it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of technobabble, but like I could kind of understand some of it. And honestly, yeah, it's doesn't make sense, but it also at the same time makes perfect sense.
A lot of the scientific technical speak is kind of just a means to an end.
Yeah. It
feels genuine.
But the thing is, it's authentic. Like, yes, none of this is real, but what they're describing and how they take care of these things that they're setting up are plausible. You know, like it's proper science fiction where you take one thing that is not everything exists based off of our physical laws that are true. Fully. And good science fiction takes one rule and they go, this is one exception. There's one exception and everything cascades from there. Mm-hmm. And that is literally like the existence of Godzilla. It's like this being couldn't physically be. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, if this being could, what goes from there?
Also, it's important to note that this Godzilla, so the original Godzilla is like slightly implied in the original to be created by the nuclear bomb. Mm-hmm. It's never outright stated. I'm pretty sure it's just like a Kuleshov effect of like a shot of lizards and then a shot of a nuke.
Yeah, it's implied. I believe in some of the films from the 70s, it's almost outright stated, and then it's like outright stated in the Roland Emmerich movie.
Yeah, they never outright say that the atomic bombs that created them,
but like Roland Emmerich movie, it's from the Bikini Atoll Islands, and everything. Yeah,
and in the original Godzilla, they imply it was some real life test that happened off of Japan.
And in Shin Godzilla, you got this character who you see his boat at the beginning, Goromaki, mm-hmm. and he's a very mysterious character, and they never explicitly state like, oh, he set Godzilla free, or he was trying to kill it because he just knew that it existed. But he is somewhat tied to Godzilla's appearance because he arrives in Japan a week before Godzilla mm-hmm. shows up. And he's in the same area looking for mm-hmm. Godzilla. There's some kind of connection there. Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty sure what they said in the movie, and it might have been a different nuclear disaster, but his wife got cancer from, I believe it was Fukushima.
I don't think they outright say it's Fukushima, but it was like some nuclear testing.
Yeah, no,
it was just radiation.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't nuclear testing. Yeah. It was
nuclear waste.
It was nuclear. It was unregulated dumping of nuclear waste into mm-hmm. water supplies mm-hmm. that gave his wife cancer, and it's the same thing that created Godzilla because they don't know if it was like a normal sea creature that ate it, or if it was. There was the theory that it was some ancient, like unknown. Like marine life that did also eat that and then evolved from there.
And he devises what they require to stop Godzilla because he hates just the concept of nuclear energy. Mm-hmm. He hates all nuclear materials and he wants to find a way to destroy them in totality.
Mm-hmm. Because of what it did to his wife. Yeah. And like it's so what's also really interesting with this movie, I mean, like I really like, first off, the environmentalist themes, like I think that's really good, but like something that's really interesting to me is how this differs from not just American Godzilla movies, because, but like Godzilla movies in general, but like especially American Godzilla movies and like any kind of like Americanized story that is like this, where it's like there is one hero or one small group of heroes that fights it individually and they beat it, they fuck it up, you know? But this movie does something so interesting in which half of the villainy in the movie comes from this unknowing, fucking uncaring force of nature and bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But what's even more interesting there is that the way to solve everything and beat this isn't rugged individualism. It is still unselfish, very human collectivism.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like one or two rogue scientists who take care of it. It is a group who literally don't judge each other's ideas and what to do, and they figure it out together. They work fully in tandem to figure it out. And, you know, like, it's something you don't get to fucking see. Because, like, people would equate the bureaucracy to collectivism. But that's not real collectivism. What they actually do is, all the time throughout the movie, they talk about, like, oh, like, you're a politician. You should be looking to be prime minister. Or, like, you know, I'm going to get this job if we do this right, blah, blah, blah. And one of the main characters says fucking constantly, he just goes, I don't care. I'm just going to get the job done because, like, Japan needs us.
Yeah.
And it's something that a lot of the good Godzilla, well, really good Godzilla movies, the ones where it's like, we have to stop Godzilla, is there's a large cast of characters that are all working together to stop Godzilla. But even those generally have some sort of a main character to them. It's funny you mentioned Goro Maki, because in Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack,
Jesus Christ.
there is a character named Goro Maki. And I think he's just one of the guys who are there helping to stop Godzilla. I don't remember a whole lot about him.
Does he have 4 arms?
No. What
Does
does
he
it
rip Johnny Cage in half?
No. What does it say about this movie that the Goromaki, who never shows up on screen, is much more memorable than the one before him? But yeah, this one, and it's again Hideaki Anno playing very interestingly with themes and ideas that have shown up in Godzilla movies before, which is you do have this collectivism, but it's very raw. It's very, unfiltered collectivism where you have a couple of characters who are a little more prevalent than others, but you have no one main character.
One thing I think that's very interesting about this movie is the movie in parts is kind of like a political satire.
Yeah.
And I think the movie really kind of takes aim, I'd say specifically at this sort of bureaucratic kind of nightmare that is the diplomatic relationships between the United States and Japan. And like because there are several times in the movie where characters talk about so much red tape they have to go through just to do anything.
Yeah.
Because
Randy was talking about how the main villain is this evil, uncaring, or this uncaring natural force, and the secondary villain, the United States government,
is an uncaring force. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, exactly. And I mean, that's part of what I like about this movie is it is a very smart way of pointing out like a lot of like political tensions between Japan and America from the Japanese side, because as far as America is concerned, there's no tension there.
Yeah.
As far as Americans and America, it doesn't matter. But like for the Japanese, since World War II, we've basically been in control of their government. They don't get to do shit without meeting a set of conditions that we set for them first. They can't. So there's something in this movie that, like, to Americans might seem very foreign, called the Self-Defense Force, the SDF. They mention it all the time. Probably notice it. It's just the military, right? Well, the thing is, the Self-Defense Force is their military, but it's only like a National Guard. Like, imagine, you know what it takes for, like, us to deploy the National Guard? Like, governors and, like, politicians have to agree, committees have to meet for the National Guard to be deployed. It's the same with the SDF. They're not allowed to do anything unless it meets criteria for defense, because Japan is legally, internationally not allowed to, under treaties, have a standing military. And as well, the SDF is like severely under-equipped. And we see immediately nothing the SDF has does anything. Now, when the Americans deploy, it does fuck them over. But they do, at first, do a little bit of damage to Godzilla, very notably. When those bombers come in,
He bleeds.
They fuck him up first, and now...
And then immediately they eat shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the satirical things I think were interesting. There's a line of dialogue they have near the beginning of the movie where they're having the prime minister's having a meeting in one of the boardrooms with a bunch of his advisors. And then he just basically stops the meeting and says, okay, now we have to move this meeting to the official boardroom meeting. And then they just move to a slightly bigger room and then just have the exact same meeting.
Oh, dude. So this movie is so fucking funny sometimes because like there's especially early on. Yeah, it gets kind of depressing as time goes on. But early on, it's so funny when they're like meeting all the committees, and it's like there's the moments where it's like, don't worry, this cannot enter land at all. They're in the official press conference. It will never enter land. Guy comes out on stage. It's entered land.
And just
cuts to Baby Godzilla
Even when it gets
rampaging.
more serious, after you see Tokyo get fucking annihilated by Godzilla,
I wanna talk about that
the
in a
next scene after that, after the president or the prime minister has been killed and they've replaced him, the next scene is the new prime minister is sitting in front of a bowl of noodles and he goes, "Oh, the noodles are soggy. I knew this wasn't gonna be easy."
It's just like I feel like there should be other things in your mind about than soggy noodles. I also love I guess it makes sense because it's a very human kind of reaction to something like this that you don't really fully understand or have never encountered before. Is right before they really start to fully understand exactly what Godzilla is, their first initial reaction is, let's just blow it up. Let's just start blow it up.
Fuck it, blow it up.
And that's the Americans' response, especially, is like, we're just gonna blow it up.
And then then the defense side of like the internal party.
And I guess what I think is very, very fascinating about this movie, and I think it's kind of I guess it's Hideaki Anno and his other writers. I don't know if, who else wrote the movie, but like really tapping into the initial instincts a lot of like really sort of really cynical politicians have, because there are some things, and this movie came out in like, what was it, 2016, 2017? 2016, right? About 4 years before the pandemic, right? But some of the things that politicians say in this movie, you could take and you could almost directly apply it to some I guess I would say American politicians' reactions to the coronavirus pandemic. And their instinct is not to listen to the experts. It's just how is this going to affect the economy? Oh, the economy is in crumbles. We have to do something about this. Human lives be damned. We have to save the economy.
And this is something that Hideaki Anno has touched on before in his works. There's an episode of Evangelion where it's like some country, I think it's America, makes like their own EVA and it goes haywire. And they're like, okay, how do we stop this? And it cuts to just a bunch of politicians calling other politicians saying, it's your problem now. Oh, no, now it's your problem. So this has been something that's been on Hideaki Anno's mind before.
It's one of the most important episodes of EVA is them just trying to secure a photon cannon from a different lab in the city that they're in.
Yep.
And it's just like, oh no, we got to fill out all this paperwork. We got to talk to 11 different people.
it's gonna stop humanity from ending, but we gotta really get through the red tape.
Yeah,
here.
when's this thing gonna attack? Oh, in like 10 minutes. And it's like, well, we gotta.
You didn't fill out all the proper forms.
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry, like you didn't do it.
But then at the same time, like once they fully realize that they need to use this cannon, they're like, all right, we're gonna switch all the generators in the city to power this photon cannon.
Also, at one point, don't they just send an EVA to just rip the roof off a building and take the cannon anyway?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Spoilers for EVA.
Yeah, but
there's a couple different ways that actually happens.
So what? Like, I also love that. Like, by the end of this movie, be it by like actually dying in a fiery helicopter explosion, or by understanding that they are the ones who were in the way, the old politicians literally are gone. They step aside because it was the young who didn't care about like all the bullshit red tape, all the bullshit tradition and bureaucracy, who solved everything.
Yeah, they stepped up and actually did something.
It was the younger generation who solved the problems that the older generation couldn't.
Do you hear that, geezers? We're fucking coming for you.
Yeah. Well, in Minecraft.
And I mean, the main character screwed over the French.
And that's pretty cool. And that's pretty fucking cool.
That's pretty
Yeah.
Yeah, because they make that deal with like the French to like help stop the Americans from launching the nuke
In exchange for biological.
but that he gives out to everyone anyways. It wasn't exclusive. Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool.
And another thing that's
Fuck the French.
yeah. Yeah.
We'll only help you not get nuked if you give us secrets that only we can have.
Yeah,
This movie.
Give us
Whoa, whoops, we gave it to
secrets.
Give us a
everybody.
secret.
I want to impress my mistress.
All I was missing was the French ambassador to be smoking a cigarette and wearing a.
Fucking
Dating
beret.
a 14-year-old and attacking Muslim women on the beach.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
all it needs for him to be a real
That's when
French
it-
politician.
I don't know if
got
you guys
the-
knew this or not, but there's actually a deleted scene where you actually get to see the French ambassador who's played by Luc Besson.
Oh, that makes sense. So was he molesting a child in the scene?
Okay, all right. You joke about the French ambassador being played. Oh wait, Luc Besson. Sorry, I got
Not-
him confused with Jean Reno. for a
Yeah,
second.
no, we don't talk. Hold on, we don't talk.
Hey,
ill
hey,
about
hey.
Jean Reno.
Hey, I ain't talking no shit about Jean Reno. I just got.
He's a one good Frenchman.
I just got the French confused. All right, it's
My,
fair.
my favorite
what-
Jean Reno is the character from Twin Peaks and his brother Jacques Reno.
Yo,
Yeah.
by the way, I can't believe I didn't mention this before, but content warning: discussion of the French.
Yeah.
I'm so
Shout
sorry.
out! Shout
I'm
out!
so
Shout
sorry.
out to all the French people who are listening. That's got to be my least favorite disability.
Yeah.
One
The
thing.
only ableism I allow is making fun of the French.
One thing I think that's interesting about more about the sort of the political satire about this movie is how I think I don't remember who it was, but one of you briefly mentioned this earlier, is how a lot of these obviously the best recourse for dealing with this problem is if a lot of these countries pull the bullshit aside and really work together because I mean, they kind of realize that like this is no longer it's not just a Japanese problem. If Godzilla gets away from Japan, it becomes a global problem. And which is why their instinct is just like nuke the fucker and hope that works, right? But like, and so a lot of these countries, the only real way they'll engage or help with Japan is sort of this sort of quid pro quo kind of thing of like, oh, we'll really only help you if you help us.
Yeah, even though it's an existential threat.
Like for example, Germany. Like some of the scientists, they asked Germany because they have something about a supercomputer or something.
Mm-hmm.
They asked the Germans to access for some of the supercomputers to help with
running calculations.
Yeah. And they go, well, we don't really know about that because they could have access to some of our confidential state secrets. It's like, really, you're really worried about that right now?
Well, doesn't one of the old
that's
women
even, also,
say
that's
that?
actually even worse than just that because that wasn't the German government. That was a German like research company that like one of the guys had a tie to, and that's what makes it even worse because it wasn't even like grand like government secret. It was just like stuff
Dudes.
about their company.
Y'all-
like it
y'all-
would have been corporate espionage.
You're
they
looking
were
at the
about.
movie wrong. It's Hideaki Anno. Do not forget this. So clearly what he's trying to say is private companies within Germany, as well as the U.S. government, are part of some kind of nuclear god cult. And they only wanted to nuke Godzilla to turn it into its crucifix form and usher in the end of the world.
Guys, anybody
Return to Orange Gatorade. Put me in.
Anybody who's
Put me in.
listening to this and has never watched Evangelion is going to be super confused.
I don't care. You
That's
can figure it out.
roughly the
Watch
plot
it.
of Evangelion.
Yeah.
Is Germany
what?
and the U.S. work together?
Hey, let me tell you something about
I wanna-
kid.
I wanna-
Shinji Ikari.
Down in these parts, we don't disrespect Shinji Ikari. He's doing the best that he can.
There's a man
If
in
it-
Gendo in here.
If it wasn't obvious before, this is a Shinji Ikari Stan podcast.
He's got some difficult
This is an
problems in
Alex
his
Jones
life.
Stan podcast.
It is absolutely fucking not an Alex Jones podcast.
What are you talking about? We all love Alex Jones here,
Okay,
right?
no, this is where I draw the line.
No,
Yeah.
no, you love Alex.
Okay.
Guys, do you not like Alex?
So
Yeah.
to get away,
No, I love Alex. What are you guys
I
talking
don't-
about? He did
I'm
all
an
those great.
InfoWars fan,
no,
dude. What the fuck?
He
He
does
sent
have a great-
child porn to
He
the
does-
fucking parents
he does
of the
have a-
Sandy Hook.
he does have a
guy.
fan-
No, Alex Jones does those beautiful paintings of superheroes.
he also does have. Oh, that's
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. You're
Alex
right.
Jones.
Never mind.
Alex Jones also does have a really great bit about him explaining the Star Wars prequels. That's actually pretty good.
It is really.
And
He's very accurate.
and
He understands them
he
better than most people.
He explains the Star Wars prequels pretty well in a way that kind of makes them accessible the people who don't really.
Oh, listen here, we got
understand.
this thing called the Trade Federation. Now it's run by the Chinese.
He also has
Let
a
me tell you
bit where he's just talking about the real world and he's describing the plot of
Evangelion,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
He doesn't
he's talking
know
about-
he is, but he is.
He's talking about like the deep state and stuff. Like,
Yeah, but it's-
No,
They
he's
got
talking about how
death cult.
how the death cult wants to turn us all into liquid to power batteries.
But it's
Which
like-
makes me think that I'm not totally unconvinced he hasn't seen Evangelion. It would be right up his alley.
It's
I mean,
exactly
that,
what's gonna
that
do.
would spell that.
You know he likes hentai, so he might like. You know, anime.
I feel like Evangelion would scratch.
He's only seen the Eva hentai.
I feel like Evangelion would scratch a very particular
It's
conspiratorial.
like getting
itch
all
for
your
him.
Overwatch knowledge from Source Filmmaker.
So it's filmmaker rule 34.
So one
Damn, that
one-
revolutionized rule 34, by the way. Bring
one
it back to
thing-
the beginning.
what
Reinvented 3D animation.
It really Source Filmmaker, like Valve dropped Source Filmmaker, and it was a cultural reset. Like I ruined a laptop. That laptop will not turn on anymore without sparking. And to be frank, I think
Look,
it's too adhered shut
look.
to open.
I've never played BioShock Infinite, but I'll never forget that face.
You were looking at her face, and everything I saw, I can only see the back of her hair.
Anyway, to get away from the political sort of satire on Shin Godzilla, which I think we've discussed, I think,
Yeah.
at length.
I-
One thing I want to okay, go ahead. Ru.
I do want to say one thing. I love that this movie is Japan aggressively saying, "No, fuck you, America. We can handle shit on our own.
Also, we love
Absolutely,
trains.
yeah.
Trains are the
We
answer.
love trains."
Trains
Wha-
can defeat
one-
him.
One thing I want to talk about that I find very particularly striking about this movie, and I think Godzilla at its best, especially because I've only really seen 2 Godzilla movies in full. Well, the Japanese ones anyway. I've seen the 2 American ones, or 3 American ones, but in terms of the Japanese ones, I've only seen the original one and then this one. But when it comes to Godzilla at its best, I think the actual destruction by Godzilla isn't really a spectacle. And in this movie, it does that particular. The destruction in this movie, it's extremely harrowing and
Yeah.
very disturbing.
I
And in a way that like it really affects you.
It's also like a
emotionally.
metal album cover, every single frame.
I want to talk about the atomic breath scene because this scene in particular is the reason this is one of my favorite Godzilla movies and the reason that it's on this list. One of many reasons. This is one of like a few scenes in a Godzilla movie that has actually brought me to tears because there's so many layers going on. You are seeing the destruction, and this is like one of the times the destruction in the Godzilla movie doesn't look cool or like,
Yeah.
oh hell yeah,
And
or you're not even really like wondering, oh, how'd they do the miniatures? It's just like, oh no, this is like one of the most horrific things.
And
that
it
could
uses
happen.
I don't know what the exact track is called, but it uses a beautiful opera song.
Oh, so that song's very interesting because the lyrics in it as Godzilla's like opening. His,
If I die in this world.
if I die in this world, who will know where I came from? And you're like, oh, you don't really understand what it means, but it's
Yeah.
a beautiful song. And then you very quickly realize that song is from the point of view
Yeah,
of Godzilla.
about Godzilla himself. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
this creature who did not ask to exist, who
Yeah.
did not ask to be born.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that the expression on his face looks like he's in pain to exist.
You feel even though you're scared for everyone hiding out in the subways and everyone everywhere while the atomic breath is happening, you see a fear. The only expression you've ever seen in Godzilla besides just dead fish eyes,
Yeah.
this entire movie, is that it looks in pain for the entirety of it. It almost looks relieved when it stops shooting its atomic breath.
Yeah.
which I think is great because it really depicts Godzilla as like he's not really intrinsically an evil force of nature. He's just much like a lot of Mother Nature. Like he's very like analogous to like an earthquake or a hurricane, typhoon, or tornado, or what have you. He's just a completely very, very destructive, but also very indifferent and neutral.
Yeah.
These things just kind of happen.
He's also relatively harmless until human waste
Yeah.
gets
It's
involved.
provoked.
Yeah, exactly. And even like with destroying the city, it's like it's not trying to destroy the city until we started attacking it. It just
Yeah.
happened to be wrong. The
Like that-
destruction is very minimal in comparison until we aggress on it, right? Because at
Yeah.
first it's just we're in the way. It's just trying to get from point A to point B. It's wandering around. But then when we aggress on it, it very quickly becomes like it is, well, gloves are off. You know. Also, like it reminds me in a way like bees. Like bees will sting you. They're gonna fucking kill. They're gonna gut themselves doing it. Like a lot of
But
animals.
if it's the only option you give them, they'll do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's fun, like that scene with the family in the apartment building that gets toppled over. When Godzilla's going on that building, he's not trying to destroy it. Like, he's not trying to give the movie a money shot. He's just trying to stand up because it's an aquatic creature on land that doesn't know how to react to being on land. So it's like, okay, I'm going to get up right. I'm going to try to get air. And obviously his weight just crushes
on it. And it crushed it. Yeah.
And it's one of the things of like, you never see Godzilla like, I mean, you see him accidentally cause destruction all the time, but it's the kind of destruction he's causing because he's trying to aid himself. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love that Godzilla evolves in this movie, because you really get a sense of Godzilla as just pitiable, of like, know, it doesn't know how to exist. It's like still figuring out being alive.
It's just like me for real. For real. He just like me, dog. Like, I'm just out here, like, I'm just... I got to pay taxes. I got to work my job. I got to do this. And sometimes I hit a child with my car because I'm crying.
What?
And like, what? Yeah, I didn't mean to kill that family of 4, but like, just like Matthew
Too
Broderick, like I just, sometimes you wipe out a bloodline on accident.
You're in the water and you just want to flop out and go.
Shoot blood out from your lungs.
That's what happens when we're all born. We all come out going like, nah.
No.
Okay, but
I'm
unironically,
talking about like Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'm talking about I wake up hungover as shit, like in the middle of the night, and you're that glass of water on my nightstand.
And I think it's very interesting how this movie you feel a lot of. I'd say one word I would definitely use for this movie, despite a lot of the destruction that's in it, is the movie gives a lot of apathy both towards I wouldn't say apathy, pathos, I would say is a better word, towards both Godzilla himself, despite the fact that you're both terrified, but you also feel a little sorry for him because as you guys talked about, he didn't ask for any of this. He's just a living creature who
shouldn't exist, really.
It's our fault.
And it really only exists and really is only going on the destructive path because of our actions, right?
Yeah.
And then you also have a lot of sympathy for the human characters, which is more than you can say for a lot of special. This is something the American films really, really botch. Is like they pay almost no real mind to really characterizing the human characters. They're kind of just a means to an end.
Well, it's the idiotic.
At worst, I would say at best. At worst, you get like the Roland Emmerich 1998 Godzilla,
where it actively hates.
Where the characters are just so fucking annoying.
Well,
but what's great about this movie and the original Godzilla, the 50, what was it, 55?
I think it's 54, isn't it?
50, I want to say 54. Yeah.
It's just like you feel a lot of sympathy and genuinely want to follow these human characters because they feel like human characters who are put in. It's just a real shitty,
so stressed the fuck out, dude.
extremely unprecedented situation.
It's funny you mentioned the American Godzilla movies and how they don't really do a good job with their characters, because I've noticed this more with American fans of Godzilla and just Americans in general who know of Godzilla. It's this idiotic fucking mindset that I hate so much of just, oh, who cares about the humans in a Godzilla movie? And it's like, well, if you actually watch the fucking Godzilla movies, they put a lot of time and care and effort into developing the human characters and getting you to like them.
Like, there's a love triangle that people forget about in the original Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
That's actually love triangles and a lot of stuff are just, they can be really hacky and they're kind of just there for forced drama. But actually, in the original Godzilla film, I actually think it kind of enhances a lot of the drama because these characters, they feel more human.
Exactly.
Because it's this conflict between these human characters who are trying to do what's best, put in an impossible situation, but also dealing with their own kind of personal stuff.
And it's not even just the original one, like even the sequels, even the silly ones, like the humans matter, whether it's just a kid who's getting bullied and he loves Godzilla, or it's just a scientist who is aware of it, or a TV reporter who goes to Kong Island and tries to film it for TV ratings. Like, they all matter.
What I love about like that too, like even in the other movies, it's like, yeah, the human characters are so well written, and in fact, sometimes it's just someone who's best friends with Godsuki.
Yes,
just doing a little dance.
Yes, sometimes
it's
just someone who's friends with Minya or Godzuki or whatever.
And it's just fucking.
one of my favorite scenes in the old Godzilla movies is just this girl's throwing watermelons into baby Godzilla's mouth, and it's like a really cute moment of just like her connecting with baby Godzilla.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I love you. That's stupid as shit.
I mean, it is stupid.
Stupid
It
as
is
shit.
stupid, but the
I
whole
know.
movie's stupid, and so you kind of buy it because at that point, Godzilla was kind of for kids.
I've just been thinking for so long now about
Oh my.
Heath Ledger's Joker. saying, I know. Saying,
my God.
Saying, do you want to know which one of them were hard? When they died, do you want to know which one of them were hard?
Where the fuck did that come from?
It was gonna be to
What is
something
that in
David.
relation to?
It was started. I was gonna make a joke about people being hard to something David said, and then Jesse started going, and then it turned into a Joker thing.
Want to know where I got these stains?
A long time ago, I discovered
Galaxy far, far away.
Want to know how I lost my balls, Batman?
I fucked Godzilla.
This is fucking awful. All right, back to what we were saying about Godzilla just existing and being in pain, because we got off of that for a little bit, but I was thinking about it. You know, one of the more interesting things is how they end up defeating Godzilla in the end, especially like in relation to like how they realize that. So the realization of how to beat Godzilla comes from like, oh, if we make some sort of blood coagulant, we can stop the blood cooling or even accelerate the blood cooling process that Godzilla has, because Godzilla is essentially a walking nuclear reactor. And the big downside for Godzilla in that front is that its blood cooling system that it has is inefficient, and so that's why it is still aquatic in the end. It has to go back into the water to cool off like a nuclear reactor.
Yeah.
The blood doesn't do a good enough job, and Godzilla is physically in pain when it's trying to cool. It's shooting blood everywhere, and it's like screaming. And like they realize, oh, we need to coagulate the blood, blah, 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 we gotta do this. And effectively, they are helping Godzilla in helping themselves. They are giving it medicine orally through its mouth. Godzilla, in the end, is no real different than a scared dog at the vet that you have to hold down to force feed medicine.
And like a scared dog at the vet, like, you know, it depends on, like, every time I've seen this movie, I'm rooting for someone else different in the ending.
Marley and me, sometimes you're rooting for the doctor and Marley and me.
But sometimes, sometimes when I watch Shin Godzilla, it's like I'm rooting for the humans to stop Godzilla because he's fucking everyone up. This time around, it was like I actually kind of feel bad for Godzilla. Like they're toppling buildings on him, they're shooting coagulant into his weird little mouth pussy or whatever, and it's just.
Look, I don't.
You got that Demogorgon mouth pussy, huh?
He has a fucking labia inside his jaw.
Dude, it is pretty weird.
Well, it is very Hideaki Anno.
He has
There's
a nuclear.
lot-
Godzilla has
Very
a nuclear mouth pussy.
yonic.
I wouldn't say I feel bad for Godzilla in this movie, but my nihilism wants me him to succeed.
Okay.
I want him to become.
Some people
the
just want to
crucifix.
watch the world burn.
Some people just want to watch men come.
You know what?
I hate it. Fuck all of you. Fuck off. Go ahead, David.
What's interesting to me is so the coagulant plan that turned out to work at least by the end of the movie. They kind of leave it open as to like what actually work in the long term, but like which I like. I kind of like that they leave on that final shot of Godzilla's tail, and it kind of makes you think, well, is this really going to work in the long term?
Yeah.
But
That's not
the
how his
other-
tail looked when they first froze him, by the way.
No.
the other alternative is, or if they didn't do that, was the UN voted to essentially use a thermonuclear detonation of Tokyo, essentially destroying Tokyo and making it inhabitable for centuries.
And they
how-
never get rid of that submarine.
Yeah.
It's
And also-
never in the movie that they're moving the submarine.
Yeah.
Well, she
It's
said
staying there.
the Japanese advisor or whatever, like the Japanese advisor to America, she says you didn't reset the countdown.
Yeah.
You
It's
just
still at,
paused
like-
it. She said 6,340 something seconds,
Which is
for
like
what
about
was left.
18 minutes.
And she said that countdown is never going away. They will start that countdown again as soon as like
Lives, it's just like lives be damned.
Yeah.
And it's just like, well, the thing I think the film intentionally is open for a reason. It's just like, well, Godzilla himself, a creature of radiation, would that plan have worked? If you used a giant thermonuclear detonation against Godzilla,
No.
would it have worked?
How do you think he was gonna get bigger?
That is my point about the death cult. The American, like, yeah, I'm joking that America was behind it, that they thought that they knew it would happen, but that is 100% what would have happened if you dropped a nuke on it. It would have absorbed
But
all of the
Godzilla's
nuclear
just the
radiation.
second impact.
Yeah,
It really is.
Well, he just would have taken on that fourth or fifth form or whatever it is, and it just would have been instantaneous.
But the thing about it is, it's just like it's the the detonation would have been over 1,000,000 degrees, and a lot of the people in the movie are convinced that the movie is, I think, kind of leaves it up to you to decide. It's just like, would that have been enough? That extreme heat would it have been enough to essentially destroy him? You know, the radiation kind of not being enough.
They mentioned that like Godzilla is a walking reactor that is also creating an insane amount of energy constantly.
I think we're forgetting the part where he shoots purple lasers out of his mouth, spines, and tail.
Well,
no,
I think what's even
that
crazier
fire
than
would
that
not have
is
done
that
anything
his
to
nuclear
him.
reactor is. So the thing that to me that cues me in like all the techno babble, all the science babble, something that actually came through from like real world science that was actually like existentially horrifying. And I mentioned the becomes God and like eventually is the entire universe. Well, what is one of the main functions within the universe? What do stars do? Stars are giant nuclear reactors that create elements. The thing that they mentioned is that in analyzing some of the living samples,
created a new element, right?
not just one, there were new. They had to use a new element for the coagulant that like the guy that Goromaki figured out to neutralize, but there were multiple new elements that were being shown within. Like
Yeah, he's
Godzilla.
literally a tool of creation.
He's a tool of creation and destruction. He is essentially a walking star.
yeah.
And it's horrifying. It's so existentially fucking horrifying.
So
And you don't get to see Godzilla like grab the sun and throw like all of this. All of this is in subtext, and that's part of the thing where I've heard people complain about this movie, like, "Oh, the CGI looks stupid. He looks silly when he comes
Wrong.
out of the water." Exactly.
Yeah, dumb
But
and wrong. Yeah.
Also, I've seen people being like, "There's 2 scenes of Godzilla doing stuff, or there's like 3 scenes of Godzilla doing stuff." And it's like,
the fucking point.
all the stuff in between is where you're learning how ungodly powerful this thing is.
That's
Yeah.
why it's scary, not because you're witnessing shit. It's because you realize, because like the destruction in the movie is on such a scale that is way beyond most Godzilla movies that I can think of. Of course, something involving King Ghidorah is like a different story, but like. We know that this is like 1% of his power we are witnessing.
It goes
He's
back-
so strong. They're like, oh God, we are really lucky that this is not as bad as it could be.
It goes back to that idiotic mindset people have of like, oh, who cares about the humans in a Godzilla movie? This is why you fucking care about them, because if you listen to them, they're telling you like, oh yeah, no, this thing's basically a god and it doesn't know it.
Yeah, it is an unknowing, as Carl Sagan would say. If there is a God, it would be an unknowing God of creation and destruction and chaos, wandering through the cosmos, creating, destroying without knowing or caring. And that is Godzilla in this movie.
I believe
There's
that actual quote is, "I've got the whole world in my ass."
I've got the whole world in my ass. I got
So I don't know how canon this is, but there's a deleted
It's canon.
Yeah, there's a deleted scene for this movie where when they're
Yes
walking
thing?
around when they're walking around the frozen Godzilla after he does the atomic breath and like a chunk of meat falls off of him. There's a scene where they go up and they look at it. There's an eye in there. There is like an animal's eye and some teeth in there, and it brings about the implication that Godzilla can absorb other life into himself, kind of like the Flood.
Well, isn't that also the idea that he just can like just by because they cut off a piece of him or they remove some kind of piece of him to get material out of.
Yeah.
And they talk about how it's regrowing and it's growing a Godzilla from that piece.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of that implication that it's just like, no, if you slice off a piece of him,
It just
he'll
becomes a new
starfish
thing.
into two.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of important when you look at the end of the movie. What do they? And they originally have the name of the plan like after one of the scientists who helps come up with it, and they're like, "Haha, dumb name, like whatever, you're being selfish." But what is it, Yoshijiro or whatever is the name?
I
of
think it's like Yashiori or something.
Yashiori, whatever it is.
Yashiori.
I'm not Japanese, so I can't remember it off the top of my head. Remember when he says the name of the plan to the prime minister? He says, "Named after the poisoned sake given to defeat the Hydra in Japanese legend."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Hydra's a snake that splits apart.
That splits apart and keeps regrowing and is basically unkillable, and that's why they have to put it to sleep.
Yeah,
they can't kill it.
There's a little obscure movie, and it's got a great PlayStation 1 video game. It's called Hercules, and I highly recommend it if you want to see a cool Hydra.
I've never heard that name. What's Hercules?
So it's
From
it's
Nutty Professor.
It's a little obscure film by a little indie studio called Disney.
Disney.
Yeah,
They're the American studio Ghibli.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
America's got like a knockoff.
Disney.
Yeah.
No, that's
Disney?
DreamWorks. This is like a smaller version of that.
Okay.
okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Hercules is like a medieval adaptation of a Superman story.
Oh, that seems kind of a ripoff, not like just a knockoff of Superman.
Well, it's a medieval. It's like Spawn and medieval armor versus medieval Spawn sort of situation.
I mean, I guess that's kind of cool. Who's in it?
Hercules is in it.
That means nothing to me.
Hades is in it.
Oh, and of course the famous Greek mythology
Megan?
character Meg.
Meg?
Yeah.
is in
From
it.
Family Guy?
Yeah.
Meg, Meg from
Wait, is this
Family Guy's in it.
Is this a Family Guy movie you're talking about right now?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Did they
it's
get Mila
got-
Kunis? Or?
Seth MacFarlane does voice Peter Griffin in the movie,
Okay, got you.
He plays he plays the Hydra in the movie.
and Peter Griffin.
And
Yeah.
Peter Griffin. Is he just like one of the sprouted heads of the Hydra is Peter Griffin?
Yep. Wait, I thought you said you hadn't seen this movie.
She
When he
peed her
mentioned
on
a
my.
Hydra, I know what a Hydra is. I'm not fucking uncultured.
She Griffin on my Peter
seen
till we make a
porn.
Family Guy.
I've seen hentai. I know what Hydra are.
Anybody remember that part where in that movie where she sings that song about how she's not in love with Hercules? That might have been the first time I got hard.
Dude,
It's a hot Disney thing.
I got
dated
hard
so many
way
girls
earlier.
who are like Meg.
Okay, you don't know how old I was.
That
when
movie
I
came
saw
out in
this
like
movie.
1998.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Way earlier than that, bro.
I got hard as a zygote, bro. When
I
the
was hard
sperm
on my way
inseminated
out.
the egg,
Unironically, yes.
I was hard at conception, bro.
Actually, I take that back. I
I'm
wasn't
a
hard at
pro
conception.
harder.
That has weird implications.
Guys, for me it was Danny DeVito though.
Daniel Dorito.
Daniel Dorito.
Danny
Wait,
De-
as the in
Daniel
Hercules
Mosquito.
specifically? Okay.
Yeah.
As
All
the
right.
singer.
Yeah.
As the
His character's name is
Savior.
Philip or something, right?
Phil.
In that
You
movie?
could call me Phil.
Yeah.
Phil the singer.
That's funny.
Jesus Christ.
It's probably Philostos or something Greek.
something really
Yeah, something
dumb
like that.
and Greek.
My favorite Childish Gambino lyric is "Y'all fuck boys like Socrates."
Okay, real quick, by the way, can we talk about how like his character of Phil is really the most accurate Greek character in the
Yeah.
entire?
He's just
a
angry, short, and fat.
Angry, short, fat, balding, hairy fucking dude.
If he was drunk all the time, it'd be 1-1.
Which is why
He
it's
was-
funny that Stav said in the live action Disney movie he should play Phil in
He
it.
should.
There you go. He's perfect fit.
My favorite Greek person is Costas Malidor, who plays Mark Hoffman in the Saw movies, who's an Italian character.
Isn't he a QAnon guy?
my favorite Greek.
Shut up! That part is not important. He plays Mark Hoffman.
No, that's
in
the best
Saw.
part about him. Actually, no.
He kills a bunch of cops.
Dude, my
That's the important
favorite,
part.
my favorite,
32
like,
dead cops.
my favorite Greek actor is everyone in the original West Side Story playing Puerto Ricans.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Fucking all right. My favorite Greek character is Socrates, or whoever the fuck was in the tragedies or whatever.
My favorite Greek actor is John Stamos because for a brief time in the 90s, he made it cool to be named Jesse.
Damn.
No, Jesse Custer is the one who's been carrying that flag since his creation.
Yo, preacher up in here, like the only good Garth Ennis comic.
I've never seen
He's got
Preacher.
plenty of good adaptations. The only good actual comic book by him.
Well, I like The Punisher Born, but I need to read it again. The last time I read it,
Ah!
I was in elementary school.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, actually, now I'm remembering
Garth
it.
Ennis
Did
is.
you wait? Hold on. Did you say the Punisher porn?
No, The Punisher Born.
No, but bring
I'm
it back
sorry.
to the
Did you
beginning.
say?
I see,
Can
I
you
also-
repeat that again. I keep
Was
hearing
it-
the Punisher.
I also
porn.
thought
I
it was
heard the
Punisher.
Punisher corn, like
The
band
The
Korn.
Punisher titty fucks Scarlet Witch. That's what it's called.
Oh, Disney.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
And where's
Disney
the link to
getting a
this?
little-
Can you,
Disney getting a little risque. Okay, all right.
give me that?
Oh my god, I can't believe they're bringing the Punisher into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
All right.
Okay. I mean, I know you're excited about that, but you should really calm down. We're talking about Shin Godzilla. and you just won't shut the fuck up about how much you love Punisher. It's getting really weird, Jesse.
I will fist fight you on camera.
I know you really
Wait.
like Punisher.
Wait.
You don't need to fight me about it. I'm not hating on
We
Punisher.
we need to ask an expert. Jesse, is sex canon to the Godzilla franchise?
Dude.
Yo.
Yeah.
No.
Sex is super
Oh,
canon.
wait. Which movies
Well,
canonize sex?
Where's the actual fucking-
There's no explicit penetration, but there's a lot of horniness in
As
Godzilla.
Shin
that doesn't
Godzilla,
count.
No.
as Shin Godzilla demonstrated in the movie, Godzilla himself is an asexual icon.
If it's not,
We stand a legend.
if it's not two naked people rubbing their stomachs together like in the Eternals, it doesn't count as a sex scene.
Unless I see full penetration like a Lars von Trier
Or
movie,
just
it
two
does not count.
Or just two belly buttons mashing together.
Maybe the tip of his dick
Well,
is rubbing up against her belly button
Yeah.
like in the room.
Well,
I'd
first
bust
of all,
for
Fuck,
that.
why is it on none of our
First
lists?
of all, the
God damn it.
Eternals were robots, so maybe that's how they fuck. Spoilers for the Eternals if you're fucking lame
Yo,
enough to give
that
a
would
shit.
actually be
Don't
sick.
watch
as
If you're lame
fuck.
enough to give a
If
shit
in
about
the
that movie.
Eternals you got to see fucking the guy from Game of Thrones and he opened his shirt
Which
and then
one?
a cock came out of his belly button.
Talk about Richard
Just a long
Richard
serpentine
Madden,
penis.
Richard Madden or Kit Harington.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Yeah, if either
Oh
one
my
of them
god!
did
I
that.
just realized what's her name? Cersei in that movie. She fucks both the Game of Thrones guys because she fucks what's his face and then she fucks Jon Snow.
What? No, she doesn't.
I mean, she doesn't fuck them on screen, but she's
Oh,
implied to be
shit.
fucking Jon Snow.
I honestly, if I'm being honest, I got her and Angelina Jolie's character combined. I merged those two in my
No,
mind.
Angelina Jolie's character has Alzheimer's.
Oh shit! Yeah, that part is so fucking stupid.
Yeah, The Eternals is a bad movie.
Don't watch the Eternals.
Barry
It
Kogan's
is
cool in it though. Barry Kogan
bad
kind of kicks ass.
by such a great director. Such a bad movie.
There are a handful of interesting ideas in Eternals that mostly manifest as cool shots, and that's as positive as I'll go.
Well, I also really like the part where the superhero character tried to destroy the world and kill all the other.
Well,
Eternals.
you know what my favorite part about like the Eternals was when they all like took a break from trying to like, you know, defend the Earth from all the things, and they just like sat around and like watched Shin Godzilla and then talked about it afterwards about like all the environmentalist themes and everything.
My
how
favorite
cool it
scene.
was.
My
Interesting
my
detail.
favorite scene in Eternals is when they established that the gay character created the atomic bomb.
That actually happens.
That
That's
is
not a
true.
joke.
Yo, wait, is that a is
Yeah,
that
They
a
don't
Godzilla
yeah.
No, is it a Godzilla prequel? Oh.
It's
I think
it's
in the background
it's like
you see
Disney.
an iguana
it's like
mutate.
it's like Disney and Marvel. Like what? You want your fucking gay representation? Here it is.
See,
They're fucking
and-
Here, the
monsters.
queers
That's
did
my
Hiroshima.
I don't know why some people take
Jesse
away
fucks
from that
men,
movie.
just so everyone knows when you hear that.
I don't know why some people take away from that movie. Oh, the guy who wears the blue and gold, played by Richard Madden, is the bad guy who turned evil. He was established to be the main hero character, and he remains that way up until the end of the movie. And yeah, like he tries to kill the guy who made the bomb. Like he tries to kill all these horrible people that never helped anybody.
It's just like
in their whole life.
Homelander.
My-
Homelander is like, if you guys watched, I'm not going
No,
to spoil the
no,
boys. Homelander
no,
is objectively the hero of the
no.
boys. I looked at reddit.com/the boys,
No.
and I found out that it turns
That's-
out Homelander is the hero.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying objectively think about it. If there's a giant robot that lives inside of Earth, because Earth is a big egg, that there's a giant robot inside of Earth.
Earth is trans. It's an egg.
Yes, Earth is trans and it's an egg, and it's secretly a giant. It's Mother Earth,
It's a.
but it's
a-
secretly a man robot on the inside. So Earth is an egg, and let's say that's true. Who's gonna live longer? Us? No, we're gonna wipe ourselves out in the next 2 years. Giant robot death machine will live on for 1 trillion years. Why are we more worth it than the big robot that'll live forever?
Hey, according
Exactly.
to
Thank you.
According to my notes, weren't we talking about Godzilla?
We were. We established that the Eternals is a Godzilla prequel.
It's
We
all part of the
are.
same franchise.
I want to say one thing about Eternals. One, I like that the hero flies into the sun at the end. And two, I also like that Kingo just says, you know what? I don't care about humanity. Doesn't want to save them. Doesn't want to hurt them. He just doesn't care.
Can't believe
that
Kingo.
movie-
Heroes.
Can't
that-
believe Kingo died, man.
That movie only got made because a condom broke, and I'll go no further than that.
No, you will go further
What?
than
Yeah.
that right now.
I'm confused, and I've heard all your bits.
I have
about
to
this
say,
movie.
I am very intrigued.
yeah,
so
you
I
can't
want to
just
hear
leave
the
it on
story.
that. Go ahead and tell us.
The only way that movie got made is that a condom broke somewhere along the line. I don't know if it was Kevin Feige's or if it was Richard Madden's or if it was Jon Snow's. But somebody made a mistake. Somebody made a mistake, and they'll live to regret it. That's how that.
What
movie
the fuck are you talking
Just
about?
like
Well, okay.
humanity with the mistake that is dumping nuclear waste and creating Godzilla.
Yes.
We didn't intend for it. It's like a broken condom. And
Nature
Wow.
points out again and
It's
again.
just-
Wow.
Or history. Fuck. God damn it. Can I do that again?
no.
History shows
nature
again.
always wins.
History shows again and again how nature points
finds
out
a way
the folly
to do
of
a
man.
thing right now.
Nature finds a way to
It
make me
finds
its
a way
little
to make
slut.
its little cum slut.
Oh
Nate-
yeah, nature.
I'm already-
Like my tree
I'm already wearing the shirt, so I'm not gonna say the cliched line here.
Nature
What?
Life
finds a way to
fucks my ass.
finds a way to make me its cum slut.
Something like that. Yeah, I think I haven't seen that movie in a long
Is it
time. so-
Jurassic Fart?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude. Also earlier, I can't remember what it was. I'm gonna call back to something you said just because you were like, you said something like before or something, but you said it in such a weird way that I thought you just opened. You went vor, and it was like, oh,
Wait.
So that's a perfect way
No.
to really like bring like
Yeah.
Godzilla
That's
into
exactly
the
that.
whole discussion because Godzilla is basically voring anything.
Yes.
And just like we opened with, being on the internet too young and having access to those porn sites, saw a lot of vor when I was young.
So-
Anyways, 2 weeks from now, you'll see the next episode. The episode will be available also on Spotify. Make sure to go to Spotify. It's on Amazon Music. It is on iTunes. Make sure to drop a good old 5-star review on those. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Like, comment. I know it sounds stupid and trite, but it does help with the analytics. Please help us out with that. But yeah, I can't wait to do another episode. It'll be out in 2 weeks. We don't know what the movie is yet. But if you follow at Randy Burger Boy, spelled B-O-I, on Twitter, you'll see updates. And if you're in my Discord, which the link will be in the description, you also see updates there about it. So that's it. Good night, everyone.